Hello everybody, my name is Punarvas Jaikumar. I am a chartered accountant, passionate trainer. I have trained over 15,000 CA students in a career spanning of over 10 years. I am extremely excited and fortunate to be partnering with an academy for CA Foundation, and I'll be handling business laws and BCR paper. So my dear friends, if you want any sort of updates, anything for that matter, I would strongly suggest you right now go and download the Unacademy app. Just go to Play Store, just type Unacademy and you will get Unacademy learning app and you can just install the same. And if you want any kind of updates, notes, tips, audio tips, video tips, etc., please join my exclusive Unacademy Law channel. It's called PJ Law. Go to t.me/PJ Law and it'll take you right to my channel and you can enjoy important notes, audio clips, video clips, etc. And guys, we also have our exclusive CA Foundation English channel where all the educators and learners come together. This is exclusive English channel, so please join our Telegram channel CA Foundation English as well. My dear friends, an exciting announcement. We have already started the CA Warrior batch. This is a fast track batch for CA Foundation December 21 examination. It is going to be exclusively in English. We have already started. Paper 2 will be handled by me, Punarvas Jaikumar, and the quant portion will be handled by my very good friend and a co-educator, CA Neeraj Mahajan sir. You're gonna love his classes. So we will cover very all important topics, and in law we'll cover everything exhaustively, and BCR will do a quick revision. PDF notes will be shared. So as far as law is concerned, it's gonna be from August 18 to maybe, since now exam has been postponed to December, we'll also have it in the October first week or something. And exhaustive analysis of paper number 2. Live classes, guys. It's not recorded. Live classes. There will be quizzes, there will be doubt solving sessions, and unlimited access. You can watch it anytime, anywhere apart from live. I will also discuss the presentation techniques. I'll also give you revision notes, Q&A notes, and specially curated handcrafted color charts for one day before the exam revision. It is going to be almost 60 plus hours. Sir, I also want to check some demo classes if you feel like that. Guys, these classes are on Unacademy Plus. So unless you have a subscription of Unacademy Plus or Unacademy Iconic, you cannot access these classes. Alright. However, if you want some other revision classes, free classes, if you want free sessions, please download the Unacademy app. Go to the special classes section. Get access to our free special classes by various amazing educators, and you will also earn credits while you watch them. So please check out the free special classes option. On that note, my dear friends, let us begin today's session, shall we? So my dear friends, let's finish off this Chartopedia series in Indian Partnership Act today quickly. So let's understand what is the minor's role in the partnership. So minor, tell me, can a minor be a partner? The answer is no. Minor can only be admitted to the benefits of partnership. A minor has no say in the partnership except that he can be admitted to the benefits. He can get a share of profit, or obviously will share losses according to the terms and conditions of the deed. So minor cannot be bound by a contract is the first part that we need to understand. Let me just restart this. So minor cannot be bound by the partnership deed in any way. Minor cannot be bound by the partnership deed in any way. So let's see the chart material. Right. So minor cannot be bound by a contract. Minor's contract is void. So minor can be just admitted to the benefits of partnership under section 30 with the consent of all partners. So guys, what resolution is needed? We need a unanimous resolution. So what are the rights that a minor has? Minor has a right in the agreed share of profits. So as a minor, what are the rights and the liabilities that he has is what we need to see. So minor has a right in the agreed share of profits. Second, minor can have an access to the books of accounts. He can inspect and copy the accounts of the firm. He can sue the other partners for accounts or for payment of his share. So can he sue the other partners? Yes. So the other partners he can sue if he has to get some accounts or the share of profit of his firm. And on attaining majority, my dear friends, he can either choose to become a member, that is a partner, sorry, or not become a partner within 6 months. What are the liabilities before attaining majority? The liabilities are purely confined to agreed share in the profits and property of the firm. There is no personal liability. Important to know that he has absolutely no personal liability as such. And he cannot be declared as an insolvent also, because guys, you are just a minor. You are not insolvent. You are a solvent minor. That's it. If the firm is declared insolvent, the firm has been declared insolvent, then his share will vest in the official receiver or official assignee. So the minor, unfortunately, is declared as an insolvent. So his share will be vesting in the official receiver or assignee. Who is his official receiver or assignee? So the main guy who takes over your entire share if you are declared as an insolvent. So if the partnership firm is declared as an insolvent, his share will be taken by an official assignee. The court will appoint a person called as an official liquidator, official receiver, or official assignee. So that person will be called as an assignee, and that person will be taking over the assets of the and even the share of that particular partner. So now, if he elects to become a partner, my dear friends, he is entitled to the share even whenever he was a minor. If he chooses not to become a partner, then the share will be obviously ending on the day he will give a public notice. So if he chooses not to be a partner, it's different. If he chooses to be a partner, it is different. And if he has been admitted to a partner, let's say when age 16 itself, the liability will come from which date is one thing that we need to understand. We'll see that. So here, this chart will help. Guys, very simple. Once he becomes a major, he has 6 months time from the time of attaining majority or coming to know that he has been admitted to the benefits of partnership, whichever is later. What can he do? He can give something called as a public notice. He can give a public notice. So in the public notice, he can either accept the partnership, or in the public notice he can reject the partnership, or the public notice can be silent, where there is absolutely no action. So he can accept the partnership or reject the partnership, or it can just be silent. If he rejects partnership, very simple, he is no longer associated with the firm in any way. The share of profit will end as if it is the date of the public notice itself, that only the share of profit will end. Third one, liability will be to the extent of the share calculated as on the date of the public notice. So the liability will be as on the date of the public notice itself. From that day, that liability will come. On the other hand, my dear friends, if he has accepted the partnership, what will happen? The date of the public notice itself is the day when he becomes a partner. And guys, tell me one thing, it's a matching concept. You have taken the profits from which day? From the day that you have been admitted to the benefits of partnership. When the partnership is flowing from that day, that is from the, the money is flowing from that day, even you are personally liable from the same day, the date of admission to the benefits of partnership. So from that day onwards, your liability also will come. This is the entire minority provisions. So from the date of attaining majority, or from the date you come to know that you are a partner, 6 months, whichever is later. You can either accept partnership, or you can reject partnership, or it can be silent. If you reject partnership, you are no longer associated with the firm, share of profit will end. If you accept partnership, the date of the public notice is the date when you become a partner. You are personally liable from the first day, the date of admission to the benefits of partnership. And if you are silent, then there is no action. Then the law says it is deemed acceptance. It's like punishing you. Law will punish you. If you are silent, the law will punish you. And why will it punish you? Because you have to now accept the partnership. It's like as if you are accepting the partnership. So the law is going to punish you this time if you do not accept partnership or you do not reject. So silence is equal to acceptance. Guys, in Indian Contract Act, there is a line, mere silence is not equal to acceptance. But this is a classic exception to that rule. Here, if a minor, is silent, who becomes a major, who is silent on accepting or rejecting whether to accept or reject the partnership, then the mere silence will equal to inaction, and inaction will be deemed that he has accepted the partnership. So this is what we need to see as far as minority provisions are concerned. So this is how it is. Whichever is later is what we need to see. Now, one thing, a minor knows when he was at age 15, he knew that he was admitted to the benefits of partnership, he knew. Now he became 18, he forgot to give public notice. 18, 19, 20. As of now, he's 20 years of age. He did not know that you have to give public notice, or let's say he forgot. So as per the law, what is it? Automatically, you will become a partner and you will be personally liable from the date you have been admitted to the benefits of partnership. That is from age 15 only you are liable. But now, unfortunately, you have not given a public notice and you don't want to actually become a partner. But you have not given public notice. Now you cannot say that I don't want to become. So when the firm asks him to pay, very coolly he'll tell, sir, I did not know about it. I don't know when you made me partner. Others are saying, boss, you don't know when you made partner. After 18, you did not give any public notice within 6 months. Automatically you're a partner. Then he goes on to lie saying that I never knew that I was admitted to the benefits of partnership at all. One deadly dialogue he'll tell, I never knew about it. Now this, my dear friends, isn't it cheating? Can he tell I did not know about it at all? Right? So now, obviously the other partners will sue this erstwhile minor. Erstwhile means once upon a time he was a minor. So the other partners will choose to sue him. If they choose to sue him, the people who are suing is called as the plaintiff and the erstwhile minor is called as the defendant. Who has to prove? The partners have to prove that he was actually admitted to the benefits of partnership and they gave the benefits to him. He received the benefits also, and today he is acting as if he doesn't know. Does the firm has to prove that, or does the partner have to prove? In the sense erstwhile minor. Does the erstwhile minor have to prove that he did not know anything about it, he did not receive any notification, he was not aware of the benefits of partnership at all? Who has to prove? So the burden of proof, or the onus or burden of proof. When a person has been admitted as a minor, the burden of proving the fact that such person had no knowledge of such admission until a particular date after the expiry of 6 months shall lie on the persons asserting that fact. Correct? Such person had no knowledge of such admission will lie on the persons asserting the fact. So this is nothing but the minor. The minor has to prove that he genuinely did not know about any transaction. The minor has to prove that he genuinely did not know about any of the transactions. So that he has to prove it beyond reasonable doubt. So what happens when a minor comes in and he goes out? What happens? First, basically, the entire concept is called reconstitution. Reconstitution, the word constitution means structure. Constitution means structure. And what do you mean by reconstitution? Reconstitution means restructuring of the firm. So restructuring of the firm, my dear friends, can happen via admission, retirement, expulsion, insolvency, death, any of these reasons. It can happen when a new partner is introduced, introduction of a partner. It can happen when a partner is retiring, retirement of the partner. It can happen when the partner is being thrown out, expulsion of a partner. Right? Or it can happen via insolvency of a partner. So one by one. And whatever, if the partner is dead also, liability of the deceased partner. So let's see one by one. So when a new partner is introduced, guys, no partner can be introduced without consent of all the existing partners. So my dear friends, what resolution is needed? We need a unanimous resolution. What resolution is needed? A unanimous resolution is needed. So one partner if he goes, we need a unanimous resolution. One partner if he is coming into the firm, you need a unanimous resolution. Even when partner is going out, generally retirement, outgoing, you need unanimous resolution. We'll see that in retirement. So new partner, let's say he is coming in today. Will he be liable for all the past activities of the firm? No. So no partner can be introduced without the consent of existing partners, point number one. Second, a new partner shall not be liable for the acts of the firm done before any admission. So I will not be liable for anything done before admission. The new firm, including the new partner, may agree to assume liability for existing debts of the old firm. And the creditors also may agree to accept the new firm as their debtor. This is if there's a total reconstitution where a brand new firm comes in place of the old firm. Then all these adjustments can be done. But ultimately, guys, if you want to change anything, you always need to take the creditor's consent. Creditor's consent is necessary to make the entire transaction operative. So this is most important thing. You need the creditor's consent as well. Mere arrangement between partners cannot operate as novation. Means just because the partners agree that okay, let this new party come, let this old party go. Mere arrangement like that will not happen. So contract of novation, as we saw in Indian Contract Act, contract of novation, if you want something to be new, nova, then obviously you'll have to change the entire concept of the contract. This section does not apply to a two-partner partnership. Is automatically dissolved by the death of one partner. So generally, guys, if one partner dies in a two-partner partnership firm, the death of one partner will result in the death of the entire partnership firm. That is called the dissolution part. Dissolution will come to it. That's the next concept. Right. Now, retirement of partner. The partner may retire with the consent of all other partners, with the consent of an express agreement by the partners, and by giving notice in case of partnership at will. So very simple, guys. In case of partnership at will, two things will not be given. Duration will not be given. How the partnership will end will not be given. Duration will not be given. How the partnership will end will not be given. So how do I do it? A retiring partner, how will I do? So with the consent of the other party and with an express agreement by partners, and by giving notice in case of partnership at will. In partnership at will, how the partnership firm will come to an end will not be given. So the best way to retire would be to give a public notice and notice to the other partner saying that I want to retire. So retiring partner continues to be liable to third parties even after his retirement until public notice is given. So public notice is the most important thing for the continuation of ceasing of all the liability. If you want the liability to cease, you have to ensure that you should give a public notice. Retired partner will not be liable to third party if they deal without knowing that he was a partner. So basically, guys, if you are a sleeping partner and you did not even know that, others did not even know that you are a partner, will you as a retiring partner be liable? No. So a sleeping partner need not give public notice of his retirement. That's for sure. Retiring partner is liable for all the acts of the firm before retirement unless there is an agreement made with the third party. Now let us say, guys, there is a partner who started the entire firm. He is an old partner, much respected partner, and he is only in the partnership firm to motivate others. He is not working anymore. He is already retired. Retired from work, but is only coming every day to just give some moral support to other people. Now, whether to make him liable or not liable, even the creditors respect him a lot. They are dealing with him since 30, 40 years, old creditors. So the old creditors say, look, you made a mistake. If the new partners made a mistake, the creditors will say, I will sue the firm, but I will not sue that gentleman who was actually my father's friend also. They entered into business 40 years ago and they are good friends, and all of us know he's not working in the firm anymore. He's just coming for moral support. When that person is coming for moral support, I will not I will ensure that he is not harmed. He should not be harmed in any way. So please ensure that in any way he should not be harmed. So can they enter into a three-party agreement, that is the creditor and the retiring partner and the other partner, saying that let him go, let him retire, I will not sue him at all. Yes, that kind of relationship is also possible, my dear friends. If you see, retiring partner is liable for all acts before the retirement unless there is an agreement made with the third party and the reconstituted firm where they say that retiring partner need not be liable for the acts of the firm because he is because he is old, and because as a mark of respect I will absolve him, remove him from all liability. Partnership at will means what? Partner can retire by giving notice to other partners. That is partnership at will. Very, very simple. As far as expulsion of partner is concerned, my dear friends, expulsion means what? Expulsion is to throw out. So its power of expulsion is given in the contract itself, guys. It should be exercised by a majority. Always remember, it's the majority rule. It shall be exercised by the majority. It should be exercised in good faith. So it should be bona fide. If three partners are working in the firm and their respective wives go to a ladies club and they start fighting. This is the example given in the institute material also. They have a personal feud. They start fighting. Can the wives come and influence the husbands and say, throw them out, throw the partner, I don't want that partner? If that happens, that would definitely not be in good faith. So basically, it should be, power of expulsion should be in the contract, it should be done by the majority, it should be exercised in good faith. If these conditions are not present, then expulsion is not in bona fide interest of the firm. All the three conditions must be fulfilled. First, it should be in the contract. Second, it should be exercised by majority. Third one, it should be exercised in good faith. Test of good faith means what? Expulsion must be in the interest of partnership, my dear friends. It cannot be for some extraneous considerations like, personal differences, etc. No. Second, expelled partner must be served with the notice. In India, everybody is innocent until proven guilty. That concept is called as principles of natural justice. So my dear friends, we always have to constantly follow the principles of natural justice wherever we are following. You should give an opportunity of being heard. Expulsion should always be in good faith. And I should give an opportunity of being heard without fail. If the conditions are not met, then the expulsion will be called as null and void. Null and void. So the concept of retirement is not dissolution of the partnership firm. This was held in Vishnu Chandra versus Chandrika Prasad case law. And expulsion also does not result in dissolution. Everywhere we are seeing dissolution, dissolution, dissolution. What exactly is dissolution? So before that, let's go into this running notes to understand where it is. So all this will fill it up today, guys. We'll finish all these things. So so if you see, admission is the consent of all partners. Partner is required to admit a new partner. New partner is not liable for the act. Retirement with the other partner's consent in accordance with an express agreement and by giving written notice of an intention to retire. Expulsion will always happen by majority. It will always happen by majority. So everywhere we are using the term dissolution, dissolution, dissolution. That is what we need to discuss, guys. But before that, if you want the Chartopedia series for Indian Contract Act, then you have to go for my special classes. So download the Unacademy app. There you can hit something called a special class. Use my code PJ Sir Law. If you use this code PJ Sir Law, then you can see various special classes and you can understand each and every concept. And for Indian Partnership Act, anyway, it's on YouTube. So today is the concluding session of the Chartopedia series. Chartopedia series of Indian Contract Act, there are almost around 11 to 12 parts. Each part is some 20 minutes, some 40 minutes, some 1 hour, like that. So I would like you to join that also and watch it, right? And also, please follow me on my Telegram channel also. It will really help you. But guys, if you want the Chartopedia series in Indian Contract Act, where I have explained everything regarding Indian contract in a very methodical way, I would suggest you to immediately go to and download the Unacademy app. So will you do it? So guys, what are you waiting for? Step number 1, go to Unacademy Learning app. Step number 2, hit install. That's it. That's all you need to do. And go to CA Foundation Plus and check out these two subscription plans, Plus and Iconic. I told you the difference. My personal suggestion would be go with the 24 months plan. Why? I'll tell you why. Because with the Iconic subscription, you will get 12 months. There is a combo, guys. CA Foundation and Intermediate. 12 months combo, 24 months combo. If you take the 24 months combo, the good thing is you'll also get time to study Intermediate also. So we have the CA Foundation and Inter combo both in Plus as well as Iconic. And dear friends, there is something called as Unacademy Combat Scholarship Test every Sunday at 12 p.m. Participate in the quiz, and if you get good results, if your rank is 1 to 3, then 4 to 10, 11 to 50 and 51 to 200, amazing scholarships. You're getting 50% off, 25% off. Enroll now. The code would be PJ Sir Law. And dear friends, if you go to my channel on Unacademy, I'll tell you more about it. Before that, as I told you, limited time offer. If you buy for 12 months, you'll get 2 months free. Same for both the Iconic and the Plus subscription. But I would request you go for the 24 months plan, because you'll get not only foundation, but also time to finish your CA Inter. Please, please, please guys, follow me on unacademy.com/Punarvas Jaikumar. Please do that. Please follow me. It will help me also. And you obviously can check out all the special classes that I've released. That is what is given here, guys. Check it out. Dissolution of partnership between all the partners of the partnership firm is called dissolution of partnership as well as dissolution of firm. Dissolution of partnership as well as dissolution of the firm. Any change in the relation of partners is called dissolution of partnership. Dissolution of partnership. So if you see, these are all the various modes of dissolution. One is without the order of the court, by order of the court. Without the order of the court, we have one is mutual agreement. Then we have compulsory dissolution on happening of certain contingencies, then by notice. So this is section 40, this is section 41, section 42, section 43. Section numbers not needed, it's okay. Section numbers are not needed, it's okay, don't worry. Then by order of the court. So dissolution of the firm means what? Both partnership is going, firm is also going. Dissolution of the firm means partnership is also gone, firm is also gone. That is called dissolution of the firm. Without the order of the court, in these cases court order not needed. Other one is by order of the court, means in those cases court order is needed. Let's see one by one. Without the order of the court, section 43, by notice, this is nothing but partnership at will. In a partnership at will, you will not have order of the court. By simply giving a notice, your partnership will come to an end. There will be no order of the court. In terms of mutual agreement, very simple, things are not going on properly. So I'll just, all of us will come together and say, look, we tried doing the business for a while, it didn't go ahead. Let us, rather than, fight over it later, let us end it in a nice way. This is called friendly settlement. In legal terms, it is called amicable settlement. Amicable or amiable settlement, which means friendly settlement. Mutually we are agreeing, no, let's friends. Hey, we are friends, leave it. Friendly settlement. By notice is what? Partnership at will. In partnership at will, how the firm will come to an end, we would not have given. How the firm would come to an end, we would not have given. So that is one by notice. Here mutual agreement, amicable or friendly settlement.
Compulsory dissolution is what? Insolvency of all or all but one partner. If there are 5 people, 5 out of 5 are insolvent or 4 out of 5 are insolvent, compulsorily the firm will be dissolved. Business of the firm becoming unlawful. I am a business which is, let's say, doing liquor trade. Today, government bans liquor trade. So what happens to my firm? Gone. Compulsorily dissolved. So business becoming unlawful. Section 41. Business becoming unlawful. Firm is dissolved. What if I have multiple businesses? What if I have multiple businesses? For example, let's take one of your names, Navina. Navina has Navina Textiles, Navina Stationery, Navina Spirits, Spiritual, then Navina Foods and condiments. That is your small things, right? Then Navina Wines. Spirits will be your industrial spirit. This is wine. So many businesses Navina has as a partnership firm. Now the thing is, the government bans not industrial spirits, that is okay. Government bans Navina Wines. I mean, basically bans liquor. Liquor trading is banned. When the company has multiple businesses, of which 1 or 2 businesses have become unlawful, will the entire firm come to an end or only that business? Will the entire firm come to an end or only that business? No, this can go on. Stationery can go on, industrial spirit can go on, foods and condiments can go on, only this. So, only particular business will be shut down. Only particular business will be shut down. All other businesses will continue. Particular businesses will shut down. All other businesses will definitely continue. So this is all these things. Dissolution of the firm. Happening of certain contingencies. This is section 42. Expiry of the fixed term where the firm is constituted for a fixed term. Obviously, we are there for like 3 years. The firm will be, the firm will go when 3 years are over. Fixed term is over. When the fixed term is over, firm will no longer continue. Unless we actually say that we will continue. Unless we say that we will continue, then the firm will not continue otherwise. Completion of 1 or more adventures or undertaking. When the firm is constituted for such adventures or undertaking. This is what? This is partnership for fixed term. This is partnership for this particular partnership. So if we enter into a agreement, partnership arrangement only for a particular business, let's say construction of metro or organizing a party, particular partnership. Then once that particular adventure or undertaking comes to an end, then there ends the matter. Third one, death of a partner. Guys, if one partner dies, partnership will come to an end. Fourth one, adjudication of a partner as an insolvent. You will get confused, sir. Insolvency is there in 41 also, insolvency will get in 42 also. Sir, and I have 5 partners. If one partner dies, why should I end the firm? Why can't I continue? If all partners die, I agree. But if one partner only dies, we have 5 other partners, why can't I continue? If you see the Baer Act regarding only this part, you see section 42. Constituted for a fixed term, carried on for one or more undertakings, death of a partner, adjudication of partner. You see this first beautiful line, everything is subject to a contract. If there are 5 partners and if one partner dies, you don't want the firm to end, please mention it in the partnership deed that the firm will not end. Similarly, one partner is an insolvent, you don't want the partnership to end, then you have to insert that. Excuse me, Jai Corona. However, guys, in section 41, that dialogue is not there. You see, in section 41, dialogue is not there. What dialogue? Subject to contract. No subject to contract. This is compulsory dissolution. Compulsory dissolution. So, partnership deed, even if it tells anything, nothing will happen. So, if there is a partner, you don't want the firm to end if a partner dies, mention it in the partnership deed. Mention it in the partnership deed. As far as insolvent is concerned, Barbad and Company, 5 partners are there. 1, 2, this fellow is always crying, 3, 4, 5. Right? 5 partners are there in Panch Barbad and Company. All 5 gone. Now the question is, if 1 out of 5 become insolvent, what to do? 2 out of 5 become insolvent, what to do? 3 out of 5 become insolvent, what to do? 4 out of 5 become insolvent, what to do? 5 out of 5 become insolvent, what to do? If 4 out of 5, basically they become insolvent. If 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 become insolvent, if 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 become insolvent, if 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 becomes insolvent, means what? Compulsory dissolution. Section 40. 41. So if you see here, this part, section 41. Compulsory. What is written in the partnership deed is a waste. Correct? 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5. If partnership deed says firm will continue, then firm will continue. If partnership deed is silent, then section 42 will apply and firm is dissolved. Firm is dissolved. Correct? That is the scene. Very, very simple. That is the scene. Section 42 will apply only when the agreement is silent. Only when the agreement is silent. Section 42 will apply only when the agreement or the partnership deed is silent. The partnership deed is not silent, then nothing will happen. Similarly, death of the partner also, if you don't want the partnership deed to come to an end, please mention that the death of the partner will not result in dissolution. Death of the partner will not result in dissolution and it will not result in dissolution. Clear? Same question. Can a firm with 3 partners avoid dissolution if one partner dies or is adjudged insolvent? Yes, provided it's mentioned in the partnership deed. Section 42 is subject to partnership deed. Very simple. So in the exam you see what they have given and then you say if the partnership deed is silent then it results in dissolution. They're very simple. Pure logic. No mugging up the law. Law should never ever be mugged up. There is nothing to mug up in law. How will I settle the accounts? When I sell the goodwill, it will be included whether depending on the agreement. Sometimes I can include, sometimes I need not include, depends on the agreement. So when I sell goodwill, will it be part of the assets or not, depends on the agreement. How will I pay the losses under section 48? So losses will first be paid out of what? Out of profits if any. Current year loss will be paid out of, or brought forward profits if any. If profits are not there, then it will be paid out of capital. That also is not there means the partners will bring in the share in the loss sharing ratio. So how will I pay the losses, guys? First of all, out of profits if any. That is not possible means next is out of capital. If that is also not possible, then loss sharing ratio. Profit or loss sharing ratio. So first I will touch the profits, then I will go to the capital. If nothing is there, loss sharing ratio. How will I apply the assets? Assets will be applied first out of profits. How will the assets be applied? Not out of profit, sorry, 1 second. Assets will be applied first towards the outsiders. So first when I sell something, first the outsiders will be settled, creditors and all those things. Then I will come to the partners. Partners also how, guys? First I will pay the advance, means if they have given any advance, if partner has given any loan, then loan will be repaid. If partner has given any loan, then loan will be repaid. Right? One second, guys. Hold on. Loan will be repaid. Got it? Next, then what will I repay? I will repay the capital. I will repay the capital next. Finally, what will I repay? Profits. Yes or no? Finally, what will I repay? Profits. Very, very simple, guys. First, I will repay the advance. Second, I will repay the capital. Third, I will repay the profits. One second. Clear. Very simple. Right? So I'm just checking if you guys are getting a proper stream. It looks good only. Third, loss due to insolvency of a partner. Now, there are three partners. One partner has become insolvent. What do I do? There are three partners. One part. This you understood, guys? First, I'll pay the outsider. If anything is remaining, first I'll pay whatever the loan has been given by partner. I'll repay that. Second, I'll pay the capital. Third, what will I pay? I will give the profits. So first advance, then capital, third one profits. Very simple. Advance, capital, profits. Very, very simple. Loss due to the insolvency of a partner. What do I do? There are three partners. One partner has become insolvent. Other two partners now obviously have to pay. I told you there are three case laws that you have to remember. One is your Cox versus Hickman. Second case is your D. Kamnath. Third one is this, guys. Loss due to insolvency of the partner was handled in a case law. Garner versus Murray. So loss due to insolvency of partner was in the case law Garner versus Murray. In this case law, you just need to remember the decision. They said that the solvent partners, the two people who had the money, they have to bring in cash. In the loss sharing ratio. And the ultimate total loss, that has to be borne in the ratio of last agreed capital ratio. Solvent partners to bring in cash in loss sharing ratio. Total loss to be borne in the ratio of last agreed capital ratio. Got it? Very, very simple. These two you need to remember. These were actual case laws. You need to remember these two, and accordingly you have to write it in the exam. So we did all these things. Only a few points are remaining, and then one interesting chart where everything is covered. We will have to do it now. Where a partner has paid premium. So guys, one fellow is coming in one big short firm. That big short firm is there since a long time, which means there would be super goodwill, etc. already there. When this partner wants to come in, they said, look, we are a big short firm. If you want to come in, you need to bring in some premium amount. Let us say for 10 years. You bring in a premium amount, they say. How much premium I'll bring in? Let's say you bring in 10 lakhs. For a 10-year period, you bring in 10 lakhs is what they say. Now the question is, at the end of the 4th year, firm has gone into dissolution. The end of the 4th year, firm has gone into dissolution. I have already paid 10 lakhs for 10 years. How much money will I be refunded? What do you think? How much money will I be refunded? How much money? How much money? 6 lakhs. Is it exactly 6 lakhs, guys? Is it exactly 6 lakhs? Is it exactly 6 lakhs? What do you think? No. Guys, time value of money. 6 lakhs today will not be 6 lakhs after 4 years. 10 lakhs today will not be 10 lakhs after 4 years. So as on today, if I say 4 years, then okay, you can say 6 lakhs. But 4 years later, 6 lakhs will not be 6 lakhs. The value of money decreases over time. Right? So what does the law say? They say you will definitely get a refund, but they will not say 6 lakhs. They have used the term as may be reasonable. This is the key word. The reasonableness will be decided based on the time value of money. Of course, the interest component, if any. All these things. This refund you will not get. You will not get the refund if at all there is death of a partner. See, if your dissolution happened because of death of the partner, death is something that you cannot do anything about it. It is something which you cannot control. So the law says because of death, if there is dissolution, then you will not get any refund. But because of somebody else's misconduct, somebody else's fraud, firm came to an end, then of course you need to get a refund which is reasonable. Because of this partner only, firm came to an end. That's the best part. Because of that partner only, firm came to an end, then he is asking refund. The other partner will say, Goda. No refund is allowed. The dissolution is mainly due to his own misconduct. No refund, guys. No refund. No refund if it is due to your own misconduct. And also, if when I am taking it only 10 lakhs, if they say it is non-refundable, then no refund. Then there is no refund. Got it? Now, if the firm has given any guarantee, there are 3 partners in the firm, they have given any guarantee. What is guarantee? It is like an assurance that the third party will pay the money. Either it has given guarantee to a third party, given guarantee to a bank, whatever it is. The moment you reconstitute the firm, what happens to that guarantee? Will it be cancelled or will it be renewed? The Act says guarantee was given by 3 partners. Now, if one partner goes and one more partner comes in, there is a reconstitution, which means that guarantee also has to be renewed. Otherwise, it will be cancelled. That's a simple provision. So, they say a continuing guarantee either given to a firm or to a third party. Generally, what happens? It will be revoked as to the future transactions. Guys, it will not be cancelled for the past transactions. No. Only for the future transaction it will be revoked. From the date of which date? From the date of reconstitution. From the date of reconstitution of the firm. From the date of reconstitution of the firm. So, a continuing guarantee will be cancelled from the date of reconstitution and only for the future transactions, not the past transactions. Only the future transaction it will be cancelled. Very, very simple. Registration, all these things we saw. 1, 2, 3, 4 yesterday only we saw. Now we have to see point number 5. The statement where you will apply for registration. Statement where you will apply for registration. Right? Statement where you have applied for registration will be signed by what, guys? By all partners. Every partner should sign. Let us say some of the partners have gone abroad. They cannot sign. See, practically speaking now, everything can be digitally signed. Digital signature. There is no need to meet anybody. You can go through everything and you can digitally sign everything. But nevertheless, this is the old law, no? Partnership Act 1938, old law. That time they all had to meet and sign only. So in case you are abroad, can you authorize somebody to sign on your behalf? Can you authorize somebody to sign on your behalf? Answer is yes. So either it is done by all the partners or agent who is authorized to sign. Agent who is authorized to sign. Either it will be done by all the partners or it will be done by an agent who is authorized to sign. Very, very simple. The statement under section 58 will be signed by all the partners or agent specifically who is authorized to sign. Are you here, buddies? Yes or no? Done? Yes. The problem is is registration mandatory in Partnership Act? No. Registration is not mandatory. Registration in a partnership firm is not mandatory. But if you are unregistered, Abhishek is an agent. It can be a lawyer also, where you have given your power of attorney. You are asking about the agent, no? It is an agent where you have given a power of attorney. If you are an unregistered firm, unfortunately, you will have some disability. Major disability is you cannot sue the outsider. Outsider can sue you. Otherwise, nobody will register. That's the best part. I will not register only. I will do all frauds. So, outsiders can definitely sue you, no problem. But if you have to sue the outsider, you need to register. That's the issue. Major disability of unregistered firm is outsider cannot sue. Sorry, you cannot sue the outsider. Moreover, you cannot sue the other partner also. One partner cannot sue the other partner. In another way, if you want to tell, if you see here, disabilities of unregistered firm, cannot sue the firm, cannot sue the other partner. Means, me as a partner, I cannot sue the entire firm, cannot sue one other partner, cannot file a suit against the third party also, cannot claim a set off. So, if there are 4 partners here, one third party, if it's an unregistered firm, he cannot sue the other partner, he cannot sue the entire firm, that is all 3 partners, he cannot even sue the outsider, not possible. But outsider can sue him. And moreover, this firm has to give this fellow 30 lakhs, this fellow has to give the firm 40 lakhs. Reverse. I have to give the firm, I have to give the outsider 30 lakhs, outsider has to give the firm 40 lakhs, which means I have to pay the outsider has to give me 10 lakhs, no? Set off, receivable minus payable. But the beauty is, since I have not registered at all, since I have not registered, I cannot claim this 40 lakhs. But if this fellow sues me, I have to pay 30 lakhs. See the danger. That's the problem. Set off cannot happen. Cannot claim set off. Set off is not possible. Right? That is the issue. Set off is not possible. So, those are the issues here. Cannot sue the firm, cannot sue the other partner, cannot file a suit against the third party, and cannot claim a set off. But set off can be claimed, this is the exception here. Whether you are registered or not registered, it's okay. Set off can be claimed for an amount not exceeding 100 rupees. Set off can be claimed for an amount not exceeding 100 rupees. You can definitely claim set off for an amount not exceeding 100 rupees. When can you actually sue? These 2 things are important. Point number 7. You can sue an outsider only if your firm is registered, as we know, and the persons who are suing are or have been shown in the register of firms as a partner. This 100 rupees is the old law. It is of no use now. Ideally, it should be some 1 lakh or 10 lakhs, whatever, at least now. This was in 1930. At that time, 100 was a huge sum. Now, what is 100 rupees? They have not amended the law, still it still remains 100. Right? For 100 you will spend 10,000 rupees, legal expenses and all that, correct. So, guys, again I am telling you, if you have to sue the outsider, 2 conditions. First, firm has to be registered. Second, the persons who are suing or are actually shown in the register, or they were already inserted in the register of firms as partners. See this question, you will understand what I am trying to tell. Solve this question. Solve it, you will understand. A and Company is registered as a partnership firm in 1970 with A, B, C as partners. In 1971, A dies. In 1972, B and C have taken a new partner, D. It is registered in the name of A, B and C. A dies, now they have brought in D. Now they are filing a new suit against X. Is it possible? Not possible. Why? Point number one, firm has to be registered. Is the firm registered? Yes, no problem. Point number two, the persons who are suing should be shown as partners in the register. In the register, B and C's name are there. B and C's name is there already. D's name is not there. Since D's name is not there, suit is not maintainable. Mind you, fresh registration is not needed. No fresh registration is needed. Fresh registration is not needed. But at least you should intimate that this is the new partner. Fresh registration is not needed, but you just need to intimate that this is the new partner. That's it. Absolutely no need for any fresh registration as such. Absolutely no need for any fresh registration. Got it? See this, A and B purchased a taxi to ply in partnership. Ply means to use it as a taxi. They plied the taxi for a year, means move around. Plying is to move around. Plied the taxi for a year when A, without the consent of B, disposed of the taxi, which brought an end to the partnership. B brought an action to recover the sale proceeds. It was an unregistered firm. If you are unregistered, can you sue the partner? No. But guys, here the most important thing only is going, no? What? Our taxi, we had it only for that particular business. Now taxi only, if it is not there, firm is as good as dissolved. Firm is as good as being dissolved. So when it is not registered firm, can I sue for dissolution of the firm is the question. Can I sue for dissolution of the firm? 99% of the students will answer that you cannot sue. Yeah, thanks to Setu. Correct? 99% will say that you cannot sue. 99% will say you cannot sue. But what is the answer? You can sue because you are suing for dissolution. Sir, where is it given? Check here. Non-registration of the firm does not affect. Non-registration of the firm, suddenly it goes. Non-registration of the firm does not affect. Obviously, right of the third parties to sue for the firm, okay. See this, right of the parties to sue for dissolution. One party can sue the other party for dissolution. I don't care whether it is registered or not registered. Got it? You can definitely sue. One party can sue the other party without any problem. One party can sue the other party, absolutely no problem. So one party can sue the other party for dissolution, no problem. Point number B. That is what you have to write. Other things you can just go through, there's nothing great there. The register of the firm shall be open to inspection by anybody. Anybody can pay and open the register of firms. But you have to pay the fee. Golden rule, in India nothing is free except this fast track patch, that is free. In India nothing is free. You would have seen golden rule, debit the receiver, credit the giver, debit what comes in, credit what goes out. But in India, golden rule, nothing is free except this marathon session, right? So registered firm, obviously when you, how will you give a special, your notice, I already told you, vernacular newspaper, all that we discussed. If you register the firm, friends, if you register the firm, your names etc. will be entered in the register. Ultimately, any intimation, notice, whatever you send will all be recorded there.
and that tomorrow will act as an evidence in the court of law. So rules of evidence, any statement, intimation, notice, etc. will be acting as what? Conclusive evidence. Any notice, intimation, etc. will act as conclusive evidence that the fact that you have registered. So it is called conclusive evidence. Clear? All these things are done. The last part is this, guys, very important chart on the consent. And if you see, court also is there, this part, you can just go through this. Order of the court. If one partner becomes insane, one partner permanent incapacity, he loses his mind, that is insanity, loses his arms, limbs because of an accident, incapacity, commits a misconduct. He is consistently, continuously going against the partnership deed. That is called persistent breach. The firm is always going through perpetual losses. It's going on and on and on. The losses are never ending. There is no way that you can ever make profit. Let's say you have a partnership firm which is a typewriting company. Typewriters you're selling. In this day and age when tablets and laptops have taken over, is there even any point having a typewriter business? No. Other partners are saying that let's close it, but this one partner who has a very close affinity towards typewriter, he says, no, I don't want to let go. The firm is going through perpetual losses. Perpetual losses, never ending losses. Right? Gone. That's the problem. Any other just and equitable ground. Whatever the court feels that it is problematic, then those things, it will end. Let's finish this chart, page number 12. Let's finish it. Let me change my battery quickly. Done. Let's see. Change in, thank you Sandeep, I will definitely take care of my health. Yes. Change in the ordinary matters of business, guys. When you are changing the ordinary matters of business, where adding one more branch, bringing, for example, new stationery to the firm, adding one more client, in that case it is always majority rule. But when you are changing the nature of business itself, from Navina Stationery I am going for Navina Wines, then this is all or unanimous. All or unanimous. Admission of a new partner, all or unanimous. All or unanimous, same. Retirement of a partner also, obviously have to take the consent of all or unanimous. Expulsion of a partner, remember, majority.
It should be bona fide or good faith. Third one, principles of natural justice. Principles of natural justice. Reasonable opportunity of being heard. Reasonable opportunity of being heard. Admitting a minor to the benefits of partnership. Admitting a minor to the benefits of partnership, again all. Statement for registration. All partners. Agent who is authorized. If you see, all that is given in this section 58, application for registration and registration. All partners or agents. Alteration in firm name, if you see, that is given in section 60. Same person as 58, but will be done within 90 days. So if you see, if I make this as a star, same star point plus within 90 days. Star point but within 90 days. Guys, for opening and closing a branch, then majority is needed for opening and closing, because that's a decision. But after I open or close, just to intimate to the registrar, just to tell, okay boss, we have opened. For that, any partner is okay, any partner or agent. Any partner or agent within 90 days. If I am changing the names and addresses of partners, partner is changing the name, his name, noting of change. So if you see, noting of changes. When any partner registered firm alters his name or permanent address within a period of 90 days, as if it is done under section 61, which is the previous one. So here, this also is the same, any partner or agent within 90 days. Reconstitution of the firm, all. Dissolution of the firm, all. Variation of terms in the partnership deed, everybody should agree. Transferring the share, everybody should agree. In the application form, if I make mistakes, obviously guys, if one person makes a mistake, it's okay. But if there are many mistakes there, this is same like this star point. whoever filed the statement for registration, same people should say, yeah, things are wrong, I'm sorry. So it is the star.
So guys, as I told you, without fail, please follow me on unacademy.com/Punarvas Jaikumar. If you don't know what to do, go to any of my videos and check out the link here. Punarvas Jaikumar sir's Unacademy profile. Once you click on that, it will take you here where you will see all my followers. You please follow me and you will see my special classes. Free classes. To enter the class, you just need to put the code PJ Sir Law. If you want a discount, you have to put the code PJ Sir Law. If you want this, you have to just put the code PJ Sir Law. Very, very, very simple, my dear friends. Extremely simple. And also, if you see here, any combo subscription or intermediate plus, and we have the iconic for CA Foundation and intermediate, all you need to do is just pick a plan. And once you say pick a plan, in this referral code, all you need to do is PJ Sir Law. And magic, you will get 10% off. So this is all you need to do, my dear friends. Very, very simple. Thank you so much for watching this video, my dear friends. Please, please, please subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell icon, because any important video released by me or any of the educators on this CA Foundation and Academy English channel, you will get a notification. Please like this video, share it among your friends, and also please leave your comments in the comment section. If you want to watch any special class of mine on the Unacademy platform, the code is PJ Sir Law. If you want to buy any product, the code is PJ Sir Law to get a 10% discount. Please download the Unacademy Learners app, and in the special class you can also get all the notes as well. You can download. On that note, see you until next time, my dear friends. Love you all. Bye, my CA warriors. Cheers.